second. Recording. Just one second. Oops. Okay, we're all set. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Lisa Opert. I'm a parent consultant with CPAC. These are my two coworkers here in my screen.
Hi, I'm Leona Domchek. I'm a parent consultant at CPAC as well.
I'm Laura Knapp. I'm a consultant at CPAC as well.
And today, well, first of all, it's beautiful out, so I hope everybody got to go outside and not be bombarded by mysterious bugs that are already out. Strange.
I don't know how much rain everybody got yesterday, but like we're trying to figure out what to do with like this much water in each of the plants.
Oh yeah. Oh, funny. Yeah, it rained out of nowhere. But today we were going to talk about. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Phyllis.
Hi,
Margaret.
everyone.
Phyllis, did you get to hear from somebody from our office? I think you're the same Phyllis. Maybe not. Maybe not. But we were going to talk today about ESY and what different towns are doing. See how you're feeling about ESY being offered, however your town is offering it, and what your comfort level is with it. For me, we are in Orange, and they have chosen to offer virtual for all kids. So as a family, we've chosen to decline for both of our kids that have ESY in their IEPs. And we did that because my oldest is 10. He has dyslexia, and it's not working for him. And then for Milo, who is 5 with autism, he won't even do anything on the computer. So I'm doing all of it anyway. So we're going to be focusing on life skills and playing and having fun. But it's really frustrating. I think it's lots of the parents are feeling like they're just getting left out to dry, hung out to dry. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have mixed feelings. I like everybody home, but I would have been okay with everybody going to I would have been okay with people going to in-school ESY, just because I think that he has, I'm talking about Milo specifically, he's regressed so much behaviorally, but then at the same time, communication-wise, because he has his brothers and sister to talk to and us all day long, he talks in full sentences. He came up to me yesterday and he said, "Hey, mommy, come, let's go outside and play cars." And I was like, "Whoa, all right." A year ago, he would look at me and say, "Car." So like the growth has been huge, but the frustration of him not having other peers other than his siblings who, have so much responsibility for him already. So I know, Leona, what are they doing in Rocky Hill?
So for us, we have just been notified that we are going to be having ESY virtually, and it's definitely a struggle. I have chosen the opposite of you. I have chosen to continue with ESY in the virtual format because I know that the fall is going to have some sort of virtual format. Now, I haven't given a definite yes because I really need to see what it's going to look like. So I've asked for, like, what is the day going to look like? I want an example. I believe that my son can maybe tolerate an hour. I like to get it over early in the morning and give him the rest of his day. I don't want to fight about that. And if that's what we end up doing, then we'll make the decision that this isn't going to work for us. But I do believe that September, the fall, is going to have some sort of distance learning. And I'd like to keep it in his pattern of doing his Lexia and his iReady, and not so much about, for the summer for me, when I looked at it, it wasn't really about the content. Like, he's losing by leaps and bounds. I get that. But I just want to give him the responsibility of having to do this online work. Yeah. But he's a little bit older. He's 13. And The other thing too is we had to change for him his classes for his 8th grade year. So he went from a completely inclusive setting, which fell apart when we went to distance learning because he really couldn't be supported in those inclusive classrooms. So he's in smaller group targeted classes, and that's how 8th grade is going to look for him. So we also had a lot of, I'm not going to say angers, but we had a lot of behaviors and situations with that transition of classes during distance learning.
Yeah.
So my decision was not really based on anything than more if I could get him into a more consistent responsibility of doing these things, then that would be what he was. But I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of incentives. I'm not doing it right now because, for school, but I have spoken to his case manager today and said, what kind of daily reports can I get and turn the incentive plan into our family incentive plan? So this would be one of his responsibilities, would be a good report back or whatever. But my reason is not because of the work. My reason is because I need to build, his whole world was turned upside down. He's no longer going to be in these bigger classes. He's going to be in these classes where he knows that he's different. And turning in some of that responsibility that right now he's just not doing. He goes into his class and checks out. Like I get an email from his teachers and they said it was nice to see him for 5 minutes. So I want him to stay on for the 20 or 30. So my reasons are different than the content.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you want to build, it sounds like you want to build consistency for when he goes back to school, because there will be a distance learning component, and just have it be a little bit smoother of a transition. I haven't even thought about the fall. I mean, we have, but I think it's more of what are our alternatives, to be honest with you, like trying to.
Has anybody else heard from their districts and want to share like your do's or your don'ts or what you're thinking? I mean, we're exhausted as parents. So for me, the thought of going into ESY, I have to be honest, is super, super stressful. Yeah. I'm like, do I want to make this commitment?
Yeah. That played into it for us too. Like,
Sure.
I haven't heard yet from my district what they're doing with ESY. I was speaking to someone at the school and they're still trying to make a decision, but I would prefer, if it's possible, for Bethany to safely, even for a few hours, go in and have in-person teaching just for a few hours. I'm thinking about her emotionally because she has really been affected by the last 3 months, and she really needs that person-to-person eye contact, seeing people. And distance learning has been, as I'm sure with many of you, has been kind of confusing and frustrating for her. And when she is in that classroom setting, her motivation is different than when she's at home with me. And so, we still haven't decided as a family what we're going to do, but my personal feeling is that if it's possible for her to safely do so, then even if it's for 1 or 2 days a week, then I think we would want to try it and see how it goes. But I have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think schools are kind of releasing that information now, so hopefully you'll be able to hear from your district soon. You're right over from me because I'm right in Orange. Okay. How old is your daughter?
She's 14. And she's going to be going actually into high school in September.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of transitioning that is also taking place as well on top of that.
It's a big year.
Yeah, I'm trying not to make my eyes go up, Sonia, but yeah, that's a big year for transition. And
it is.
And if there's any way they can make that easier, boy, what a difference that could make.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That's our main concern right now, is just her being able to, before the shutdown, we were concerned with the transition, and then certainly now we're even more concerned. So that's like, what we really want to focus on with her.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Phyllis, go ahead.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm okay. I haven't really heard anything either, except for after I had sent a email to the school psychologist, because I guess they're the ones supposed to put the PPTs together, and I was told I can have the video, PPT. After that, he sent me a letter back saying it was from the Hamden Public School, that they weren't gonna, not exact words that I'm saying, but they're not gonna do them, but moving forward to the ESY, that they were gonna have an amendment, I guess, for me to sign and keep the goals that's already in there. But he called me, and when I talked to him, I said I wanted to voice my opinion about how I thought about my child, because I'm home with her now.
Yeah.
We wanted to make some changes because distance is different from when you're in school. So when you're sitting in a PPT meeting, you giving me your opinion because you're in school with her, but I'm at home with her, and I want to sit down with everybody and have everybody up there and give my opinion and want to suggest for the summer school to try this, because we don't know how long we're going to be sitting here, distant learning. I want to try something different to get her engaged, but he said you're going to have to talk to the administrator, which is the one that's up under the school principal. And I said, well, make sure you give her my information to get in contact with me. That's been like 2 days now, and nobody has contacted me. So I'm like, where do I go from here with that?
I would send another email and just kind of include everybody in there, just so
Okay.
you have it dated when you asked for a meeting, dated when you contacted them, and then you just have documentation of when you reached out with specific questions looking for a PPT. And it's your right, even in COVID closures, to hold a PPT if you feel it's necessary. That's what the guidance is saying from the state. So if they're saying no, you can say it's still my right as a parent to be able to call I think you were talking about transition meetings. But you can call a PPT. We signed off. For us, we have one triannual that we were supposed to have. For my son, his testing was not done. So we did sign the paperwork stating that we're going to push our triannual off to the fall. But I didn't feel it necessary. You definitely sound as though you feel it's necessary. So I would say, no, this is something that I really feel needs to happen. And just keep following up and say, hey, I talked to you on Monday. I was told this person would get back to me. So I'm including all these people in the emails. You should be able to find most of their emails on the website for the district. If you don't have them already.
I got some of them.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, and then I was trying to get in touch with the guy at the State Department, the educational department.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get in touch with him, but we keep missing each other. I would leave a message and he'll call me. Then I was so busy in there doing her work with her. Then my phone was in charge, and then I would miss his phone call, and then you kept missing.
Yeah, there's epic phone tag going on in this school closure, because there's, instead of just being who we normally are, we're working parents or stay-at-home parents. Now we're everything plus. So I think that there's just so much phone tag going on.
The principal, the teacher, the special ed teacher. I've been to the gym with her, and and
a million different phone numbers that are coming in, and you're supposed to recognize who everybody is.
They're private. Okay, who you?
What are you trying to sell me? Yeah.
Exactly. Sell me what? I don't want it.
I don't want it at all.
I don't need it right now.
Yeah.
I started a Google chat with one of my kids' case managers instead of doing the email. So and now I sent an invite because my school uses the Google, so it's recorded, it's fine. And, documented. And I sent one to my other son's case manager. So in the morning, they're lined up across the screen. So instead of looking for emails, I'm getting these little pop-ups are they in class, or let's talk about this. And it's definitely controlled my email situation. Yeah. And I'm grateful for their flexibility in doing it that way. But like you, Phyllis, there's a lot going on right now. It's who do I reach out to? Who's this person?
And just the number of emails that come in from everybody is so overwhelming. And, for our districts, they're doing Zoom meetings or they're doing Google Meets. So sometimes they'll send me the appointment for the next week's right after. So then I have to go back in my email and there's finding the right one from the right teacher and spelling it correctly. So I wish I had thought of Google Meet. Google
Right.
Sheet.
It's a lot to manage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Laura,
Really
what have you
is.
heard about ESY up near you?
They are still contemplating. Fortunately, I've heard really positive things about even the distance learning. They are doing Zoom chats with paraprofessionals and students and with the teachers. They're getting onto Google Classrooms. They're actually hosting classrooms, special ed classrooms. So they're doing really well, but they're deciding whether to do a hybrid distance and then maybe a partial extended school year in the classroom. So, but they're going to gear it. If they do a partial in person, it'll be geared towards the students who have the most needs.
Yeah.
That's the thought.
We
That's the
spoke with
rumor.
we spoke with our director yesterday just about our concerns about the fall. And she was saying, you know, the biggest concern are the kids that need the biggest
Yes.
supports, because, you know, Milo is a kid who needs lots of supports, but he's also a kid who's going to need hand over hand for certain things. He's going to need a teacher right next to him for certain things, not all of it. So I think that that's a big concern for ESY. You know, it's like, well, you know, you have to get teachers that are okay with it. You have to make teachers feel comfortable because they're going to work every day too.
Right, and that's what we're hearing in our district, that they're concerned about the students who really need that one-to-one intervention, that hand over hand, that the direct services, and how are they going to manage that, and how comfortable are the teachers going to be? So a good portion of it is still going to be continue to be at distance learning though, as we know.
Well, it's good that they're finding success at least.
Yes, yes.
I have to say, I do feel very lucky that that Matthew's been able to work with a para. I think it helped definitely improve our relationship, which was plummeting horribly. You know, I feel bad when I have to tell them he can sign on again, but I'm not going to do science with him when he's signed off, because it just, you know, like you said, Lisa, like it's hard to get beyond them with this, and it's just really difficult. Margaret, Rolando, do you have anything you want to share? Feel free. Let me check over to Facebook just in case.
It's definitely,
John did say that Metcalf said that Intensive Education Academy, IEA, is putting their program on soon. So
that's great.
That's good.
Some places are doing it. That's good to know. You know, I went to pick up my son's medication. They have to get the medication out of school, so I had to go get his bag of medication that's at the school. And when they had the distance lines on the ground, and they put everything outside, and they're pushing it at us with a 3-foot ruler, and all I could think about is, boy, how do we go back to school when this is how we're touching stuff that wasn't even affected by COVID. So anyway, Rolando, yes, I will unmute you. Oops, there you go. Go ahead.
I don't think this is a question that's going to have an answer, but when my son was given his last PPT, right before the quarantine started, we were told...
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you for one moment as I watch all of us lean in? Is there any way you can talk just a little bit louder? I'm so sorry. We're having trouble hearing you.
I'm leaning closer to the microphone now.
Perfect.
Yep, that's better.
Thank you.
So, and I don't think we're going to be able to have an answer for this, but when we did our last PPT before the quarantine, we were told that they were recommending that my son be outplaced to a private school. Basically, they said the public schools just don't have sufficient skills and capacity to be able to give them that same standard of services. So we started the process, and we were connected with a couple of specialists, and then everything fell apart. So now we're sort of stuck in limbo where we're not sure if, you know, where is he going to go for summer school for ESY? What's going to happen next year? We still haven't even started to look at the other private schools to make a decision, or is it just going to keep flowing as part of the public school system next year? Like, everything is just kind of stuck in limbo.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I understood that. So you had a PPT meeting, and it was determined that they want to outplace some?
Correct.
But you were in the middle of looking at different programs and didn't come to the determination of where that outplacement will be.
Right. So we did look at a couple of schools. I went out and visited one. This all happened,
Gotcha.
the PPT was maybe 3 days before the quarantine or the school closing took place. And I went and visited one school. And as I was talking to them, my phone rang and I got that robocall saying we're closing the schools tomorrow.
Gotcha.
So now we don't know what's going to happen for ESY, what's going to happen in next year, where's it going to go?
Have you contacted the school district? Have you been in communication with the school district of what any meetings, upcoming meetings, any communication with them at all?
All I've received so far is the registration for next year. So just to be safe, I went ahead and registered for next year at the same school where he is right now.
Okay. Were you going to say something, Lisa? Or
no, you can take it. You can take it.
Okay, so his current IEP is with the school district that you're living in or the school district he was attending. So
Right.
they are responsible for his IEP at this point in time.
Right.
So I would definitely send an email out to them to say that you want to at least get an initial meeting together to say what are the plans, what is the process going to be.
And then the other thing that I've been doing a little bit of research, and maybe you can connect with the right person who would know the answer to this, but my understanding is that in order to qualify for tuition reimbursement, his IEP has to specifically state that he needs to be outplaced to a private institution, which the current IEP does not state. So if that's the case, I need to go back to the school and say, hey, you need to correct his IEP, but school is now almost over.
I want to make sure I understood were you going to say something, Lisa, or?
No.
Okay, so can you repeat that question? Because I'm not sure I quite understood that. I'm still having a hard time. You're speaking very softly, so I apologize. It's hard to hear.
I'm actually at the top of my lungs. It's just something problem with my.
There's something going on with your microphone. Okay.
So,
Don't scream though. I don't want you to hurt your lungs or your voice.
Thank you. It's very considerate. So I've done a little bit of research, and from what I understand is that in order to qualify for tuition reimbursement, his IEP has to specifically state that he needs to be outsourced to a private institution. I don't know if that's the case, or maybe I misunderstood, but that's not what his IEP says today. We were verbally informed that he needed to be outplaced.
Okay, so the IEP itself does not say that he is going for out-of-district placement at this point in time. Gotcha. So yes, they have to say that their program is not appropriate and that the placement will be wherever the placement will be, but they'll probably make that decision once you pick a place. Mm-hmm. But yes, it is correct that the PPT has to determine that their program is not appropriate, and then they would pay for that placement.
Yeah, it has to be that way because the one school that I looked at, their annual tuition was $120,000.
A lot of money.
A chunk of my paycheck.
Yes.
So
yes.
Definitely have to have reimbursement.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the school had already stated that they believe that outplacement is the best place because they're not able to provide an appropriate education for him, I would read through your notes in your IEP, that page that's like the kind of summary. I think what page is it? 3? And it has kind of like an overview. You can talk about actions proposed. That should be there if they're talking about outplacing. That should be mentioned in there. So I would read through your IEP, those first couple of pages, to see what they kind of summarized as the PPT notes.
Right. And if they did decide that out of district it should be on page 3, the prior written notice page. It should be written on their actions proposed.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And it should be in there. And then I would definitely reach out to everybody saying, hey, we made all these decisions 3 days before closure. We'd like to see where the status is. If there's any schools that I'm able to at least get into to see, even if there's no students there. Schools are probably still doing some sort of tours at social distance types, especially schools that are for outplacements.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I've seen a lot of virtual tours being done.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
The other thing too, I just want to read from the comments though. Margaret had to leave, and she was a counselor that she was just looking to hear parent concerns. And so I just want to give a shout out for her for attending, because these calls are meant for everybody. I think that if we have teachers, administrators, therapists, and things as part of the conversation, one, it enriches the conversation, and two, it allows both sides to be heard. Sometimes as families, we could be frustrated for a specific reason. And if we have somebody who's willing to share a story, sometimes they're sharing the other side, and it just allows us to see both viewpoints. So I want to thank her for being here today, even though she had to leave, and encourage anybody else that would want to come and be part of the conversation to not, to feel like they're welcome, even if they're not a parent with a family with a disability, but they're a special ed teacher or therapist or anything. Please come and join us.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else that they want to share today? Doesn't necessarily have to be ESY related. What kind of week did you have? What's your hot topic this week? Everyone's buttons are a little bit different. We're getting toward the end. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's like that countdown. I'm just, I don't want to say that I've given up because they might hear me, but let's go. My high schoolers, I think, officially finish tomorrow, because next week would be exams and there's no exams. So they have a week to take care of all those zeros, and I'm just hoping take place. But what about you? Anybody? Sonia?
Yeah, we are looking forward to it. We're just looking at it like the last stretch, and you know, Bethany's being a really good sport, and she already asked Mom, what are we going to do on the last day of distance learning? And I think we're going to order pizza and have some fun and go outside and do something, because it, you know, it was tough on her and me. So
I love that.
Celebrate in some way that this, you know, even though these kids were thrown so many different obstacles, they were still successful. Even the ones that you had a hard time with it, this was a big change for them. So I support celebrating.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I thought the same thing about my daughter. So today she had the little Bluetooth she likes to listen to, and the other one funked out. I said, well, let's go buy you another one, because she hung in there with this distant learning. You know, so she's been a sport about it, you know, though it's not the best, but she's been a sport, and I said, this is yours, you know. And then after that, we fed some birds, and, you know, she got a kick out of that, you know. So that's what we did.
That's awesome. Now I have to think about what to do to celebrate with these four over here.
I was just thinking, I want to hear everybody's celebrations when we come, at the last stretch there, because I think it's such a fabulous idea. We are going on vacation that last week of school, so my youngest will miss 2 days, and I had told them that he wasn't going to be there, so don't look for us to sign on. And they said, oh, we were doing virtual field trips for the last 2 days. And I thought, oh, that's great. That's another great idea. I mean, that's what the school's doing, but another great idea, because, you know, to keep them engaged and also encourage other things that we can do during distance learning, because the summer isn't going to look exactly the same. And that is one topic we were hoping or wondering if you guys were interested in. We can put the resources up on our resource page, but we thought maybe one of the conversations we would talk about in the upcoming weeks after school got out was summer activities, you know, what they're going to look like, things that are out there. Right. So if you have things as parents, feel free to come and share them with us, because we love to hear everyone's idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good idea to celebrate, especially during this time, you know, all the significant little things, just, you know, surviving through distance learning, all the little milestones that happened, and recognize them, because this is unprecedented times, as everybody says, and it's nothing that anybody ever expected. And we're all learning from it and learning how to do things differently.
And kids are doing amazing things. I mean,
they are.
I think some days it was definitely harder for my husband and I to transition to this way of living than it was for our kids. Our kids were kind of like, hey, we get to stay in their pajamas and learn. So they were pretty okay with it. I think it was more Peter and myself who were like, oh,
Yeah.
How many roles can we play? And I'm sure I sounded bitter a little bit, but
They pick it up.
They,
They
So-
well, I think we talked about that too, right? We talked about how sometimes it's us. I think we talked about it on Tuesday's call when we talked about emotional literacy, right? Sometimes it's us we're taking it on and they're feeling it. But during this time, that's definitely been a struggle because we have a lot of hats we're wearing. Yes.
Absolutely.
Sonia, did you have something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing. I was saying absolutely. You know, making that transition was a challenge, and it's interesting as you were talking. I think in the beginning, when for the first several weeks, each time I saw an email coming in with a new assignment with that due date, I almost treated it like it was my responsibility to get it in, almost like my job. And then I was also working from home at the same time, so you know, after a while, it was just not sustainable. And I realized, you know what, let's just try to be a little more reasonable, you know, because she'll pick up on my stress. And, you know, it's not a normal teaching environment. So,
Right.
yeah, so
Right.
I can relate to what you're saying.
And as parents, there's a lot of demands placed on us, and you know, working mother, wife, husband, son, daughter, whatnot, and then you throw teacher on top of it. It's a lot to handle. So, and the kids are going to feel our stress levels at certain times, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the most amazing thing about having the role of teacher put on us too is, so for you that don't know, I was a teacher for 10 years. So you think that this would have been like easy for me to do, but my kids do not want to learn from me. They don't want me to be their teacher. They don't want me in that role. They want me as mom, chef, anything else that they want me to do.
Right.
So like, they didn't want me in that role. They were like, yeah, but you taught those other kids. You don't teach us. So that was, trying to find a happy medium was hard.
A good point.
And I don't think that goes away. Because like I have I mean, your kids are young and they're saying that, and you were a teacher, but I know like my 17-year-old is like, Mom, please, you don't know what you're talking about. And really all I'm asking him to do is get out of bed and talk to his case manager, which, you know, we've stopped doing for a while now.
What makes anybody feel any better? It's just my 26, 27-year-olds that are starting to say, oh, you do know what you're talking about. You do have advice. So you have to wait a
One
while.
day they'll come back and tell us that we're awesome.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah. Only, I don't know, how many more years? 20 years.
Yeah.
Like my youngest, 21, yeah.
Keo popped in and Amy popped in, and sometimes Amy likes to share. Keo always has great stories, but we were talking about ESY. We know the guidance came out. We've talked about it in multiple situations, and we're looking to see what districts are starting to do and how families felt about it and how they're making your decisions on what's best for your family. So if Amy or Keo want to share, feel free. The other thing we were talking about, which Sonia brought up, which is such a fabulous idea, is that to celebrate the end of school with something special, and that's really important. We've talked about self-care. We've talked about, you know, taking time, but what a great thing to celebrate, making through it, all those transitions. That is definitely a day to celebrate. So Amy, I saw you go off mute. Feel free to share away.
I didn't hear what you asked. So I'm happy to share, but I don't know what I'm sharing yet.
We were just curious if you had any information about ESY and how you were feeling about it. And we have different, you know, options across the board. Most of it's virtual. Some of us have chosen to stay with ESY. Some have chosen not to. We all have different reasons. So we're just kind of sharing today and to see how everybody was feeling about it.
So my district is doing virtual, and that only. There's no other options for in-person. I'm surprised that some kids that haven't really participated in distance learning through this time period are taking us up on ESY, which I kind of feel is a nice, you know, transition for them, that they're, even if they weren't able to participate during the school year, maybe they have more availability during the summer. So I'm excited to see some of my kids again. My own children's school have also been doing just virtual. as an option. And it does seem like they're reaching out to more families that might not have otherwise qualified for ESY, which I think is a good positive coming out of this too, that even if they might not have regressed during the school year and maybe regressed or not during this time period, giving them that option to have those services over the summer is nice.
Do you have any idea of what your virtual day is going to look like at your?
I'm going to do just individual Zoom sessions. Some of my preschoolers, their attention is quite limited. So I might do 15-minute sessions with them, depending on how much they can handle. And some kids, this is meant for them. Some kids, it is not meant for them. So preschool or not, some kids are thriving in this environment and some just aren't.
Absolutely. And I share over and over, and you know, we're choosing to stay. I'm just trying to see if I can get my son to stay on longer onto his meetings without deciding he's done.
So I've started a schedule board with a lot of my kids.
That's what we're going to do.
Schedule boards that we would have been doing in school, we're doing visual schedule boards through Zoom too.
So it's funny because my son is 13. I don't know if I shared this. So I did it. The school did a schedule for him, and I put it in, and I put pictures, and he was mad that there was pictures. And then I said, but I did the pictures, and I took the time to do the pictures. Then it was okay. So here was an area where it was okay for me. It wasn't okay for the school to give him the visual, which he needs. In this case, it was okay that it came from me to provide that need, maybe because of him being older and the visuals being of younger quality. So there was that. It was okay that it came from me. But then he wanted me to switch it up on a regular basis. Like, Mom, you know I'm an 80s fan. How come they don't have an 80s theme? Let's have a theme. And I was like, I'm like, whoa, I don't got that kind of time.
But good, a little self-advocacy going there.
Yes. So
well, let's encourage him to look 80s stuff.
Right,
maybe the Stranger Things. You know how they have that 80s thing?
Oh, yeah, he wears it. He's got his Stranger Things all the time.
And maybe the buy-in is him changing the pictures.
So for summer, that was one of the reasons, like when we're staying, that I have chosen mine was for transition purposes, to kind of keep him going, to keep him engaged with the distance learning. I don't know how much he's still going to get out of it. That cat is so big.
Your cat is huge. Like, what kind of cat is that?
He's got full paws.
He's like a cat the size of a dog.
Yes,
he's my dog. Yes, he is.
He was flexing.
He is like my oldest, like there. He not like cat. He like walks around like this thing's like a tiny kitten, and my son's like got it up. Like, anyway. So we were gonna keep it, but I think his incentive board, I'm gonna make 80s and help do it. But you know, we definitely, that's for the summer for us. We definitely have to look at an incentive board. How are we gonna keep him engaged? Like, give him points for staying on to the end. But I think did your school, your kids' school, are they doing summer ESY, or are you participating?
I had one PPT already for the 11-year-olds, and initially they thought they would give him ESY, but then after we reviewed data, they felt like maybe not necessarily ESY, which is sponsored through the district, versus something that the school's offering already. So we opted for the schools of work. So the school's gonna have, his school in particular is gonna have the kids work through the summer on a platform similar to IXL. They're waiting on teacher feedback because a lot of families were having difficulty using that as a platform. So they were looking at another platform, but definitely one specific to math and Lexia. In addition to giving the kids one book, he's going into 6th grade. So like a 6th grade level book, chapter book to read through the summer. So that there's some continuity, but nothing rigorous or what he's had now, which is he has about 8 Zoom meetings a week, and they're not Zoom, Google Meets. And then my senior, I have his PPT on Monday, and I'll find out if he's exiting or if they'll continue with some kind of programming. So we're waiting to see what options we have.
And I think that's, I mean, I don't know how everybody feels. A lot of it too is we're hearing it's virtual, right? Today we're saying it's virtual. We're hoping from some in-person stuff, but we don't have exacts. And with school ending and ESY really just around the corner, you know, part of that is in the frustration too, because we want to plan for what it's going to look like. And that we're still waiting.
I have one mom that asked me earlier today, her little guy, I think, has Down syndrome, if I'm not mistaken. So she was asking if she should have any expectations for summer. So I said to her, it's going to be more of what you're getting now, honestly, and probably even less, because usually summer school, or even if it's ESY, is not as rigorous anyway. They tend to reduce other related services. It's more on the student not regressing, so they're not really teaching new schools. They're really more reviewing. So she was kind of on the fence, only because her kid has missed so much already. So to continue with more of the same. But, you know, I encourage her to look at how she can incorporate day-to-day stuff, because I think he's like 7 or 8. So like helping sort the clothes, helping put clothes in the washer, to kind of see if that kind of helps supplement some of the work that he would be getting in school. Because academics, they're not really getting.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a conversation that we can have during the summer as well, as we continue the conversations, is how do we, you know, at least you talk about it all the time, the things that you do for your kid, just to take learning opportunities and rolling them into the every day. So maybe that's some conversation we can have too. Amy, I would love for you just to join us on that and some of the things that you're doing with not only your own kiddos, but your students, to kind of bring some of that in. I think those will be great conversations for us as we continue into the summer.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, our kids, it doesn't stop, right? So school's almost over. We're on that final stretch. We're going to celebrate. We definitely need a celebration. I'm so excited about this.
I know, I'm so happy I was on so I could think of something cool to celebrate, some way cool. You know?
So we love your guys' feedback as much as we, you know, as we enjoy that you come and you have these conversations with us. We take so much away from you as well.
Yeah.
So,
Keo, you were able to have your PPT meetings?
I had one on Friday and I'm having another one on Monday. So yes.
So because I'm in Hamden and they're kind of like, I'm using my own word, kind of pushing it off to say they don't have time for it and it's past due. But we were already told that we can have the visual PPTs. But then when I send you an email, all of a sudden I hear from you, you say that it's past due and we can't do it, it's too much to do, in other words.
So Phyllis, hi honey, nice to hear from you.
I didn't think you were gonna remember me.
Of course I do. Since you didn't say your daughter's name, I won't say it. But each district is doing their own, they're handling PPTs in their own way. And it's unfortunate because here you're hearing others having it and your district hasn't provided that.
Right.
Supposedly, Hamden was only doing emergency PPTs. So I'm not sure what constitutes an emergency during this time.
Okay.
What I will say is the guidance has been that if they're not, that they don't have to have a PPT because they went on to this distance learning model. It's actually more of continued educational opportunities. So I don't know if you were thinking that you wanted a PPT because they went into this model, or you wanted them to change goals or objectives, or she was due for an annual.
She was due for annual,
okay,
and she's supposed to be getting evaluation.
So
and they were doing evaluation in the middle of them saying school's closed. Her evaluation going on right then and there for the DDS.
Okay.
And they shut the school down, so the evaluation stopped too. So they owe me that as well. And I wanted the IEP because that was due on May 17th.
Okay, so the way it's working is IEPs are staying in place, right? So you don't have to worry about it expiring. They still have to continue to work on those goals. However, the evaluations have to be done in a prescribed manner. So usually it has to be in person. I know they're trying to get waivers, but that hasn't happened yet. I know it's kind of something that they're all looking at how they can provide this, especially when September comes, they have to continue to do some distance learning. So I think that's the holdup, right? If they have to have evaluations and they can't provide evaluation or actually administer evaluations because school's closed and they can't meet with her, then they're trying to say to those families, we're going to work with you come the fall. But if you have, technically, if you have concerns, you could say as a parent, put it in writing, I would like to have a PPT to address these concerns. But it's more about changing the IEP. But you can always have a meeting without changing the IEP. I don't know if that's something you would like to do.
Okay, because my concern was me saying her going into the ESY. I had some thoughts about to do it differently with her because I don't know if she's learning anything. She's doing basically what she's told to do.
Okay.
Versus, like, is she getting it though? Is she learning anything? Or is she just being programmed, just do this because that's what you're supposed to do?
But I'll see with you, Phyllis. If you want, you can reach out to me. I'm going to put my number for you and you and I can talk separate because I don't see a reason why they can't have, even if it's an informal meeting and not a PPT, just to discuss what the plan is. The other thing I want to put out there for all parents is schools should have given you a plan of what they were going to be doing during this time. So did you get a plan?
Nothing.
Did they call you to discuss what the plan was going to look like?
What plan? If I didn't send an email, I would never have gotten a letter which they said was from Hamlin Public School. They said it was from Hamlin Public School after I sent the school psychologist email stating that I wanted to have the virtual PPT meeting.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden it was past due and we don't have time or enough information, you know. So I got a little frustrated with that. So I have a right to discuss this.
Absolutely. Any parent, honestly, so anyone that's listening to us, they should know that they can reach out to their school if they have concerns. They could request to have a PPT. It has to be mutually agreed upon. So if they're saying, no, we're not going to have a PPT, at least make sure you're documenting your efforts, because if you find yourself come the fall and you feel like they did not provide appropriate supports, the law says to the maximum extent possible. So they really have to be making an effort to be supporting your daughter to ensure that they're providing appropriate supports. Communication is key. They should have sent out a plan. If they didn't send out a plan, at least someone should have called you and say, hey, Mom, this is what we're looking at doing with her, and call you a week later, do a check-in. How are things going? You know, do we need to bring you a package? Do you need some, you know, type of technology?
Right.
Some districts are providing sensory boxes for kids who have sensorial needs. So each district's a little different. So I put my number in the chat box. Feel free to call me. And then we could talk specific about what the next step should be for your case.
Okay, because I mean, she's supposed to have OT and speech. I want to know how you're going to do that, but because right now I don't know what you call OT and what you're calling speech as we're doing district learning, because she's used to engaging.
Correct. So each school district is different. Some kiddos are getting FaceTime, some kiddos are getting Google Meet, some kiddos are getting phone calls, some kiddos are getting a pre-recorded session, and some districts are not doing it at all. They just send an activity sheet and have the parents follow up on it.
She's just doing a little piece of paper. They ask her little questions. So what are you doing today? Or what's your favorite this? I guess that's supposed to be speech or something, life skill or something. I don't know. You know, I don't understand what's going on. So I'm a little frustrated with that.
So I will say to you, you and everybody else is frustrated with this process. I will ask you to offer some grace to the district because this is unprecedented. These are situations that they had never planned for. IDEA does not have anything in the law that's discussing in the event that schools close, what should schools do. So they're really figuring things out as they go. However, we're already in June and schools close for some districts on or about March 13th, March 16th.
She's the 9th.
Say it again?
She's going to be on the 9th.
9th what?
Of June. The school's closing.
No, but I'm talking about when schools close in March, the kids can go back. So at this point, some districts are either 10 weeks out, potentially 11 weeks out, or maybe 9 weeks out. So at this point, they should already have established a routine for her. They should have given you a plan. The onus is on them to document their efforts. So if you're saying they've barely done anything, then you may be able to get some compensatory services.
Okay.
I don't know what that would look like. I don't know when they'll be able to provide that because, you know, we still don't have a definitive date for when schools will reopen. But I will encourage you to call me so that we can at least, I know the director is Teresa Ott. Maybe we need to get her involved to say,
Yeah.
hey, the school
Okay,
is really not reaching out. We would like more support. Say it again?
That's the name I saw on the letter that came out for Hampton Public School.
Yeah, she's the director, so I know her. We could, you know, maybe do a conference call with her and see what she says.
Okay. Okay.
Can I add something?
Of course, Amy.
So coming from a speech pathologist, our district signed as a contract for the union that we didn't have to provide any direct one-on-one sessions. So I'm choosing to, but it was almost encouraged that we didn't. So just Phyllis, for your information, it might not be the speech pathologist's fault. You know, it might be that as a district, they've encouraged their staff to not do one-on-one live lessons.
So Amy, clarify, is the union for all of the state of Connecticut?
No, for my district.
So in your district.
So each district has a different union, teachers union, and some speech pathologists are part of it and some are not. But as a district, our school pretty much encouraged us not to do live lessons.
Wow.
So Phyllis, I'm just saying that as a, you know, it might not be the SLP's fault that they're not directly doing services, but they should be in touch with you, whether or not they're doing live lessons.
Are you getting any text messages, any contact via email?
From who? From who? They don't communicate.
All right. So
those speech pathologists don't communicate.
Is a problem.
No. Because, you know, like I said, they sent her a sheet of paper, a doc, you know, Google's doc or whatever, and she's supposed to do this, answer questions, and, you know, I mean, but is that speech? You know, is that supposed to be OT? She does the typing because I had that in her IEP, but they send that and they wasn't doing that for the first couple of weeks, and I sent the letter to her special ed teacher. Oh, I'll talk to the, you know, the guy that, yeah, well, I talked to him. He said, well, they didn't say nothing to me. I'm like, well, who's communicating? You know, so it's like, I need somebody to talk to me. I can give them the grades, but just talk to me and let me know something. If you don't know, tell me you don't know, you'll get back to me. Something. You know, that I understand that everybody's having this change and it's difficult. I understand that. But just communicate with me.
I agree. Phyllis, were you able to see my number on the chat?
Yes, ma'am, I have it.
Okay, so make sure you reach out to me. I'm gonna be working today till about 5.
Okay.
If you can't chat today, then maybe tomorrow.
Okay, all right. I'll do that.
And that goes for anybody. If anybody wants to call, feel free. 860-758-0172.
Thank you, Keo. And Amy, thank you for giving us, that's why it's so important. Again, we'll go back to what I brought up earlier with having, you know, service providers and teachers on with the call, because it just allows us to see both sides and really have those valuable conversations. Like you said, you know, we encourage you to give the district a little bit of leeway right now, but there are certain standards that we need to try to make sure are met. I forgot where I was going. I see movement. That's why someone's trying to sneak out. It's skateboard time. It's almost 4 o'clock. We can't get onto our phone calls and do them, but we can go. We know it's 4 o'clock without looking at a clock. To go outside, and that's his gym, by the way. Totally throwing the kid under the bus. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and we'll kind of recap the upcoming calls that we have. Laura, can you just give a little bit of introduction on next Tuesday's call, our special guest?
Okay, I had to unmute myself. So next Tuesday, someone will be speaking to trauma in school-based interventions and going over what the schools can do, different resources, and how trauma affects student learning.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so that will be on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Keo, would you like to go over your lineup?
Hi, everyone. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Adrienne and I host a parent support group, but online. So you can join us through Zoom or connect through Facebook, but that's hit or miss depending on the internet that day. And then every Wednesday, we try to do a learning series. And this upcoming Wednesday, it's going to be about domestic violence. I'm not sure like the topic, but I know that Adriana was able to get someone to discuss something to do with domestic violence. So I apologize, I don't have the title with me. And I know Laura's looking to get another person for us as well. So feel free to join us. Our Monday, Wednesday, Friday calls are at 1 and Wednesdays at 4.
Thank you.
In Spanish.
Thank you. In Spanish. And next Thursday, our topic is going to be pre-planned. We're going to be talking about the virtual PPT because we know this is a topic that you guys would like to discuss.
Yeah.
And it's going to get away from us if we try to keep it on a Tuesday. So next Thursday will be about virtual PPTs. And the following Thursday will be about transitions. So we are listening to the things that you want to talk about, and we're getting them in. So we hope that everyone continues to join us for all of these calls. I do just want to remind everybody that we do have a COVID on our webpage on Connecticut Parent Advocacy, that right when you go in, there's a pop-up that says COVID resources that you can click on and get a lot of the information and guidance, things like that have been posted or that we've gone over in the last couple of weeks. Keo posted her phone number in there, but whoever types faster, if we could get in, could you put in the regular phone, our number and CPAC email that you can reach out to anyone. There's 14 parent consultants, I believe, and we are all here to help you if needed, if you want to follow up with any questions or concerns. So does anybody have any other questions for today or comments? I'm just checking Facebook real quick. I thank you guys again for joining us. We're really happy with our weekly calls. We look forward to seeing you and speaking to you. And again, Sonia, thank you. We're all going to go out now and plan celebrations. So we're really
Great. Can't wait to hear about it.
I know next week, that's how we're starting. What's everyone got planned? So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good one. Talk soon, Phyllis.
All right. Call you right back.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.